Hi everybody, welcome to the Word at One for Thursday, January 13th. On Thursdays we've been going through the names of God and those names as they relate to God's work in this world and as a reminder of God's work in our world and in our lives each and every day. Now in the scriptures, the defining events of Jewish history in terms of God as Redeemer, that is the name that we're going to talk about today, Redeemer, is their time in Egypt and God bringing them out of that time, and also the time of exile when foreign nations invade the northern and southern kingdoms, eventually take people off to foreign lands, and it takes generations for the people to come back. So Egypt and exile are two significant events in the Jewish history. And as we've talked about Egypt this week, it's a physical place, it's a physical reality, it was a physical part of this history, but it's also a spiritual reality, a spiritual symbol of times of refuge, times of being taken away for a little bit. But those Egypts, you can't stay there. They're temporary because God will bring us out. And today, God will redeem those times of Egypt and those times of exile. So in Isaiah chapter 43, verse 14, this is what the Lord says, your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. For your sake, I will send to Babylon and bring down as fugitives all the Babylonians and the ships in which they took pride. And then he goes on to say, this is what the Lord says, he who made a way through the sea, a path through the mighty waters, who drew out the chariots and horses, the army and reinforcements together. So he's talking about exile, the Babylonians, and then Egypt. So the idea of going through the Red Sea, the way that he made through the sea. He says, forget the former things. Do not dwell in the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the desert and streams in the wasteland. And you've probably heard this verse before, how God is saying that he is doing a new thing, because God as Redeemer is always taking these times and the experiences of Egypt or of exile in your life. So a time of refuge or a time of maybe being away from what it is that you've known or even what you've loved. Some time to really learn that all we need is that connection with the Lord, and that connection is the most important thing. So that's the lesson that he likes us to learn in Egypt or in exile, is that we need that connection. And also the other lesson that he wants us to learn is that he will redeem all of those times. And it may not be fully in this life, but we will see it in this life, that God will redeem, God will make a way, God will take the Egypts and the exiles, and he will show us what it is that he is making in that. And it's something that it's easy to say, but it's harder to live that way. But the alternative is much worse. You know, when the Lord talks about the Babylonians, he said that they will be taken captive, taken fugitive in the very ships in which they took pride. So when they overtook the people of God, when they invaded, they were filled with pride that they had triumphed over God's people, or what they thought was a triumph over God's people. And the Lord says to them, it is these very ships that you will be in when I take you out of the land again, and you will be fugitives in the way that you made other people fugitives. And that key element there is the pride of the Babylonians. And the pride that we can all fall prey to is, well, as long as we rely upon ourselves, as long as we know what we're doing, then we can sort of go about our lives however we wish. But the Lord says no. Like, that pride is something that needs to fall. And sometimes he brings Egypts and exiles to help us move past that pride and to recognize that only he truly redeems in every way, no matter what Egypts and exiles we have on this earth. I'll see you all tomorrow.